So the question was from someone who's working on Tantra, and they were asking if there's a light language transmission to help with controlling sexual energy. Yes, and I already hear them saying, dear, that they... Yes. So the word control, they want to, instead of thinking of it as controlling the sexual energy, they want you to think of it as investing it, where you're investing it, okay? Okay, so yeah, let's just see what they have to say there. Yes. Okay, Judah here. So we will just say, before we hand off to the Pleiadians, that your sexual energy is your very life force energy. It is the chi within you. It is sacred, beautiful, and lovely. And when you began to see it all also as your spiritual life force, then you are entering a great revelation, you see. Just as the sexual energy is the one that creates a new life, an infant, it also is available for restoring your own life energy, your life force, your chi energy. So in the culture, there is a lot around releasing sexual energy, making use of it in a release. But there is also a way, as you mentioned, you use the word control, we will say to invest your sexual energy back into yourself, into your health, your body, and your soul. And your enlightenment experience. Is this what you were asking?
Yes.
Okay, so let's hand it off to the Pleiadians. We are going to ask them for a specific transmission for investing your sexual energy in the highest possible way for the good of your body, mind, soul, and spirit. How does that sound? Okay, here we go. Yes, we thank you for this, Pleiadians here. And yes, we will give you a transmission around this with some explanation as we go. You may want to take some deep breaths as you feel compelled throughout the transmission. And we will begin the transmission for guiding, directing, and investing your sexual energy for your highest good and pleasure. And here we go. Aichi o I ai utuko uchite utika a ich it oko o ashendo ikita anti iti oi utika o yena uchi chika iti di o utuka a atsi ito ushto utikete I no okay no ya a you did it Okay, as we give these transmission, just begin to allow the feeling of energy to move from your tailbone and your sexual organs and your coccyx tailbone up your spine, and just imagine it moving up and draw it up as far as you can. Here we go. And your sexual energy is also the energy that is the energy of creativity. It is the energy of the Creator, which created worlds and stars and trees and mountains and rivers and the vast variety of plants and animals and flora and fauna and so on. And so your sexual energy is also a creative force within you, and you can direct it towards creative pursuits. and it will add a tremendous amount of empowerment to those creative pursuits. Achi uchika ai uta enta untaka shite yana ukada zeta ushta intake ude notaka ushna itike uyo to unda utsuta utsuka shite utan tike eneti ti ono shite tike ai itike unta utada katete. Take a deep breath. And you can draw the energy now into your heart. Icho o I o una ake I icho o kitsa a che che I unaka eni ikite shita inside intaka. And also draw that life force energy into your throat, and you can feel when you speak with it more authority and life-giving energy, empowerment on your words. So be careful what you speak from this energy, and when you speak from this energy, speak boldly and in truth and love. Hai shichi chika etike utsa inta unta kuchichi ata utaka ata unta inte shichikanta itsa itaka ucha icha usa una akate etikete una ete kunta chechu uchikate tekete ta. And also may this energy spin in your third eye and open you to visions of heaven and life and truth. Icho uchikai inni uchi uchika oi unsa dukai chichikete. O isa utaka cho atute ndio da mba kuta ente. Itiko onta suta uchikita ai nene kite da untai chiteko. And let that energy awaken and enliven your pineal gland. Yes, uche uchika utuka rashundai tikai nedikete uta. Itsuka ucha tikata ati uto utukindai de. Yes. Yes. And yes, may this energy also connect you to all the unseen realms that have empowerment and love and joy for your life. Thank you for that. That was a great question. Thank you.
Can I ask one follow-up?
Please.
Will that also aid in stopping the release of that, like during a sexual act?
Let's ask them. I think Chuck has the right answer for that. Will you share about that, sweetie? Okay.
Would you like a more in-depth
and
easier to understand?
I would, and I'm going to put this mic on you just in...
Okay,
I'm just going to hold it your way.
Okay.
Just to make sure that everybody can hear your answer. Will you repeat the question back for the listeners?
Well, this is going to be all about... This will explain Tantra sex.
Okay.
Basically, I'm going to explain it in another way. The way in which in Chinese medicine and acupuncture, we explain it. So there's all types of qi energy. There's heart qi, liver qi, spleen qi, etc., etc. There's a type of qi that protects your bodies called wei qi, and the most refined of all qis is called essence. It's the most refined of all qis. The amount of essence that you're born with is all that you will ever have, and the essence of the man and the woman coming together is equivalent to the DNA of the man and the DNA of the woman coming together, the sperm meeting the egg, And in that essence will tell the blueprint of that being, whether it be a male, female, blue eyes, green eyes, whatever color, all about that. If the person is brought up in the optimum way, if they don't start smoking when they're 12 or something like that. So what happens is, because this essence, what happens is when we run out of the essence, we have a natural death. So this essence is very, very valuable. So when the man ejaculates, he loses some of that essence. When a woman has an orgasm, she does not lose any essence, because this all takes place inside of her. So her body says, well, no, let's don't give up any yet. Let's wait and see if the sperm meets the egg and if there's a conception, and then we'll give our essence to that new being. So the woman loses essence when she becomes pregnant, and a man when he ejaculates. That's why an 18-year-old boy might be able to ejaculate 4 or 5 times a day, and then a 75-year-old man can only ejaculate every 5 days. As he gets older, it takes longer and longer for him to be able to ejaculate. And that's another reason why men tend to be tired afterwards. Otherwise, they might do it so many times every day that they only live to be 20. Now, when a woman, this essence acts as a reserve energy. So when you sleep and you wake up in the morning, you're born with an energy that gets you through the day. And then at nighttime, when you're tired, it's like, oh, I'm tired, time to bed. And then you recharge yourself as you sleep, and the next day you have energy again. But all of a sudden, you're tired. It's time for bed. It's 10 o'clock, but you get a sick child. You get some kind of emergency, and all of a sudden you get a second wind. And it's like, okay, well, what's this second wind? Why don't I stay in a second wind? Well, when you have a second wind, what you're doing is you're using up some of that kidney essence. You've gone to your reserve tank and you're using some of your reserve. Now, in Chinese medicine, the kidneys are the battery or the generator in the body. And so the kidney essence, the essence is housed in the kidneys. So it's also called kidney essence. Now, when you start to use the essence in an emergency situation, what is chemically happening in your body is you're releasing adrenaline. Where do the adrenal glands live? Right on top of the kidneys. Now, when a woman's essence gets so low, the body says, hey, we can't afford to give any more of this essence up. So she goes into menopause. And like I said, men just are unable to ejaculate. It takes longer and longer for them to be able to ejaculate when they get older. Now, under normal circumstances, if a person dies of a natural death, what has happened is that kidney essence is all used up and they pass away. Or when you use the kidney essence, not only in an emergency situation, but that essence is used when you get sick to help you recover. Now, in the first 10 years of the life, the essence is used to help that child grow because it needs a little extra energy. Then when that child reaches around maturity, the body says, okay, we don't need any more essence for growing, so now we can give some away, and puberty happens. Now, what will happen is, a lot of times now, people will just get sick and pass away from things that wouldn't normally kill them. You'll hear a story of a woman, an 80-year-old woman or 85-year-old woman falling and breaking her hip. And the next thing you know, she passes away. And you say, well, how do you pass away from a broken hip? Well, she goes to the reserve energy, the kidney essence, and there's not any there to come heal. It becomes infected. There's no energy to heal the infection, and she passes away. Now, with Tantra, the idea is a lot of people do it so that they will live longer and be healthier. So they don't want to use that essence up. So, but the other thing about that spiritually, what happens is when you have a normal orgasm, what happens is you build tension, you build tension, you build tension, and then there's a release. This is what, if you hold on to that, you have a valley orgasm, which is quite different. So what happens is you don't ejaculate. You do enough movement just to stay excited, but you don't ejaculate. And what builds and builds and builds, and then what can happen when there's enough of it, it will go up your back to each one of the chakra points on your back and up to your crown chakra, and you can experience a valley orgasm, which is kind of like being connected. You're opening your crown chakra and being connected to higher energies. And with a tantra, with a valley orgasm, that orgasm can last for as long as you can stay in that state of no mind. Now, what happens sometimes, and what's happened to me when I've been in that state is, what happened to me one time when I was in that state, it was like I was in such a state of bliss, my mind kicked in and said, you're going to die here because you don't want to get up and eat. You don't want to get up and do anything. You're in such a state of bliss, you don't want to do anything. Well, when that happened, of course, then my mind kicked in, and then I fell out of it. But I was in that state for an hour. So what happens is, if you practice that more and more, you can stay in that state longer and longer. So you could call it maybe the Kundalini energy going up, but like the Pleiadian said, it goes to each one of your chakras.
Right.
If you look at the chakra as a spinning wheel, and what it does, they're usually at curvatures in the spine, and it's just a way of pushing that energy higher to the next chakra, and it pushes it to the next chakra and to the next chakra until it goes through your crown chakra, where you're connected with the higher realms, with God or whatever.
Right.
And so that's what.
Can you give him any specific advice about how you would stop the ejaculation?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
You stay as excited as you can, and if you start to feel like, okay, I'm getting too excited, think about baseball, think about something that horrible that happened to you, slow down the movement. And what happened with me, I was able to get into that state twice, not because I was trying though, although there was a couple of times I tried to learn how to do that. These were special situations, but after that, what would happen to me whenever I would try, I would get past the point of no return.
Right.
And so you just have to learn, okay, what is the point of no return? And then when you get close to it, start thinking about something else. And then if you start to lose the excitement, then you start getting back into it. And it takes some practice. Well, it doesn't have to, but usually it does. And if you try too hard, which is what happened to me, then I couldn't do it at all.
Gotcha.
You can't put the tension. Once again, if you start stressing about it, you're going back into that stress release type orgasm. And you want to have a valley orgasm.
Okay.
And once again, you can stay in that valley orgasm as long as you stay out of your mind, as long as you don't start to think. And it's a state of bliss.
And Chuck one time years ago gave me a treatment for those points, and I had a valley orgasm for 2 whole weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like nonstop?
Yeah, for 2 whole weeks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then also with Chuck, I've had, for me, a white light shoot up, and I would just, it was like a white light just burst in my head, so that's my experience. I don't know how you would explain that. But.
And if you get good at that, you can literally bring that on without even having sex. I went to a party one time in Southern California, and there was this woman, and she pulled a chair out in the middle of the dance floor. We were all dancing around, and she sat there in the dance chair, in the chair, and she just started having an orgasm. And people would come up and just kind of touch her and pat her, and it was like, well, what's she doing? They said, oh, Tantra sex, she's having a valley orgasm. And she would just sit there. I thought it was kind of weird to do it in the middle of a party, but anyway, So once you learn how to do that, you can get into that state without the sex. And there's other ways you can have that happen. If you build up enough energy so that it just expands and just...
And that 2 weeks that I'm talking about, I wasn't having any sex at all. But I stayed in a low orgasmic state for that whole time.
And my question too about the light language is, will it help with that like point of no return?
Let me ask.
Well,
or just like being able to
yes.
help.
Yes.
It'll help you to be able to judge that better.
Okay.
But there'll still be a point of no return.
Yeah. Because it's still necessary for creating life.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, if you moved into it, if you had enough energy already built up in that lower chakra, already enough energy, which, would have to be quite a bit to where you started to move into it, and you just had a little bit more to throw you over the limit, the last straw of already having enough in there. Because you can do that in meditation too. You can build that energy up. Joe Dispenza has a meditation where he talks a lot about bringing the energy up. There's lots of different meditations for doing that without sex. But that is one path to doing that.